All right, so this is where we're at on the cabin so far. I did this in a 5-part series, and I'm combining them all into one long video now. But during the series, I think a lot of people were under the impression that this was a how to build a house series, and that's not what it is at all. It's just, you know, me and my girlfriend, we're a couple of young, dumb millennials that are just carving out our own life. I'm not a professional, I'm not a contractor. I've built some stuff, a couple log cabins and stuff like that, but I'm by no means a professional. But yeah, we're just trying to live a more debt-free, self-sufficient lifestyle. This is the start of our homestead here, and I'll show you guys how we got up to this point. Let's put them all right here. Well, Cierra and I got our foundation pads, so we're at the point where we're hauling material over to the build site. We have 15 of these concrete pads. They're about 80 pounds a piece. And I know in my previous video I mentioned I was going to do sonotubes. We decided to go with this method instead. I think it's going to be a lot better for our application here. And it's a proven method that works well in our area. So that's what we're going with. But like I said, there's 15 of these. And I'll get into how this foundation is going to be built pretty soon here. All right, Cierra and I got our 4 corners marked out. You can see we got a stake in all 4 corners, some lines going here. We're right on and square, so I can start laying out our pads. And these pads are gonna hold up the 3 beams. So we'll have one on this outside wall, one down the middle, and one on this outside wall. And there's gonna be a pad every 8 feet supporting this beam, or each of these beams. And they're gonna be 3 wide, 2x8s. So they'll be spliced together. Each seam will be resting on cinder blocks, which will be on these pads. So that is how the beams are going to be laid out, and then we'll build our floor on top of that. So I got some of this all-purpose gravel at Home Depot, and we have some class 5 on the property already. And so we're going to have a good solid 4 to 5 inch thick base of class 5 packed really well. And then this on top of that, about 4 or 5 inches of this as well. And then our pads will sit on top of that. All right, we got these green X's indicate where each of these pads are gonna be going. So right now we're just gonna move some material, get a pad next to each X, and a couple bags of that good gravel. And that way everything's prepped and ready, and we can just start flying. All right, so you can see here, we're starting to dig these in. It's probably really hard to tell, but we have pretty hard clay where we're at, but we've dug down a little bit, and right here we have about 4 or 5 inches of class 5, and then this will go on top of that class 5, and the pad will sit on top of that, so it'll be a good base. And your base work is really important. You know, I worked with asphalt all last summer, and if your base isn't right, I mean, your product's gonna fail, you know. You have a soft base, that's when tar cracks, you know, same as concrete. So your base work's really important to get it perfectly level and packed really well. Well, it's getting dark pretty fast here, so I think Cierra and I are gonna call it for the day, but this is just for demonstration purposes, so you can see these pads will be sitting on that gravel. We still have another bag to add on this one, but we have the gravel base all done on this side. The class 5 base, we still got to add this other gravel and all that. And then we started getting some of these dug in here, but we ended up running to Home Depot tonight, earlier in the night, to get 15 more of these bags of all-purpose gravel. So tomorrow we should be able to get these all in, I would think, if everything goes smooth. I don't know if you guys can see this tree here. This is the only one that is in our way right now, and it's not going to be in our way for a while. We'll be able to get all the pads in and everything, because this one down the middle here goes next to it. So we'll be able to get this all done and get our beams built and everything and get them on our pads. And then at that point, we'll be able to transplant this one here. I really want to save that one because that's one of the bigger ones we have to transplant. It looks like it's going to be a really nice tree, so I do not want to waste that one. All right, well, we're starting day 2 here. We only worked on this for probably a couple hours yesterday because we were hauling materials all day, but I started on the middle beam here, getting these pads situated. This side over here is done. It's got class 5 and all those. I still got to add the bags of gravel here though. But I think I got 8 more to dig out like this. And then I'll add class 5. And then we'll add this all-purpose gravel and start leveling these out with each other. Cierra just had to run into town because last night, you know, we keep our food out here because it's a little cooler, of course. So we could hear something underneath the cabin on wheels here all night. You know, I would bang on the walls and scare it away, and it would come right back about 5 minutes later. And I don't know, it's probably a skunk or a fox or something. But I kept looking out the windows and stuff, you know, with my flashlight, trying to figure out what it was. But never saw it. And then I wasn't going to go outside because, you know, if you open the door just a crack, Skeeter's a wizard at getting outside. So, and if it was a skunk, like I said, I don't want him getting sprayed. So anyways, I thought it was pretty funny. But we got robbed. It stole our buns for our brats, and I think Cierra had some cantaloupe and a couple other things. But yeah, those are all gone. I've walked around, tried to find them, and can't find them. So whatever it was took them. But I guess that's living in the woods, you know, the animals steal your stuff, not people. But anyways, I thought that was kind of funny. So pad 1's level, and now we just gotta level them all with each other. So I'm gonna start in one corner here. I'm gonna level off all these so they're all the same height and all level. And then I'll work my way shooting out the sides here. And there's gonna be a lot of adjusting and you know, triple measuring, you know, so it's a tedious game, but I don't know, once this part's done, it gets a lot more fun. But this part's, like I said, by far the most important. So here's how I'm getting these pads leveled here. I got an 8-foot board. It's exactly 8 feet, and it's a really, really straight board. So it makes a good straight edge, and I get the pad level here. Now we come up a little bit on that one end, just a hair. And it's, like I said, it's just a tedious thing. It's pretty good this way. And then now I know these are level to each other. I gotta drop this one here down just a little bit because this has to be exact. And if you're off just a little bit, even like, you know, millimeters from here to there, but then you keep doing it this way, then you're gonna be way off by the time you get to the last pad. So you gotta make sure all these are 100% level before you go on. And like I said, it's not the funnest thing in the world, but it's important. And as you can see, I got a lot of them to do. So if I can get this accomplished today, I would consider that a pretty good win. But I'd say these first two here probably took me 30 minutes, honestly. But I'm kind of starting to get a system down now, so it should go faster. So you can see those 2 bags give me a pretty thick base here. And I just kind of get it roughly level with the level here. Just kind of using it as an edge, you know. So you can see I just used this 8-foot board here, cut it exactly 8 feet to make sure I'm in the center of each pad, and I just eyeball it. It doesn't need to be 100% exact, but it's got to be pretty darn close because I'll have cinder blocks on top of these now. And when I build these beams, they're going to be 2x8 spliced together, and each one of my seams, I want them to land on one of these pads, so that way that splice is landing on a pad. All right, guys, there's the completed cabin footprint right there. All these pads are level and square to each other. Some of them might be just a little bit turned, you know, here and there, but we'll adjust those when we put the beams on. But center to center, they're all perfect. So this part went well. It's my least favorite part, and we can get on to some more fun stuff now. I want to point out this because I almost made a big mistake here. Well, not a big mistake. I would have realized it later on, and then it just would have been a lot harder to correct. When I, measured, the way I laid this out was 20 foot from the center of this pad to the center of that pad. And the reason that wouldn't really work very well is because, my beam's 3 boards wide. So I would have had about this much of my beam sticking out past my rim joist, and there wouldn't have been very much, my floor joist wouldn't be resting on very much of the beam. So I had to account for the width of the beam, and move these in a little bit. So now my beams lay right on the middle of these pads, and then the rim joist will come up flush to the outside edge of that, my beam. So otherwise the rim joist would have been sitting like in on the beam, like center on the beam. And then I would have had this much of my beam sticking out, which would have looked dumb and wouldn't have been as good, so. Okay, so I have this set up here for demonstration purposes. This is day 3. We've started hauling these blocks. I can only haul 30 at a time in my little Ford Escape, but we need 60, so I got to run back and get one more load here. But I wanted to set this up just to show you what it'll look like. So we have these blocks that'll be sitting on all of our pads, and the advantage of doing it this way, rather than having a continuous poured piece of cement for a footing, is if we ever have to make adjustments, this makes it really easy. If we have to jack up the cabin and adjust something, it's going to be a piece of cake because it's all individual pieces rather than having to wrestle, a big, heavy, continuous piece of concrete. So I think this is the route to go. And then, like I said, there'll be green treated lumber on top of this in between our beams and the concrete, because you don't want your beams sitting on concrete because of moisture issues. So this is what they'll look like when they're done. And I have to add that I would not recommend this type of pad foundation for a real large building. This is a smaller building. It's just a few hundred square feet, so it'll work just fine for that. But if you start getting into larger buildings, then I would probably go a different route than this. So I've started laying these blocks on top of the pads, like so. And as you can see, we're perfectly level. So this part of the process is turning out good so far. But this gives you an idea of how my beams will be sitting on here, the full length, of course. But yeah, so far so good. Okay, so you can see here, this is that green treated wood I'm talking about. Because if you lay untreated wood on top of these, concrete absorbs moisture and that'll rot your wood. So by having this green treated wood here, that gives us a buffer between the concrete. So that's why we have these on here. So you can see we're perfectly level here. And this is what I mean. This is just, we have another row of boards to put on here, but see how these seams are, where they're scabbed together, they land right in the middle of a pad. So that's what I was going for. Just like so. We do have to adjust this a little bit and push it that way, but you get the idea. All right, here's a look at beam number 1. So it's perfectly level, nice and straight, centered on each pad. All the seams line up. So this one turned out good. So how we do it is we have this upright when we start, and I just kind of tack it in with a few nails just to keep everything flush, and then we flip it down flat like this because it's much easier to nail. And we're nailing on through both sides. And these are 16 penny, 3.5 inch long. And as we're nailing these, we're doing it in a W pattern like this. So I'm told that that's stronger.
I don't know how you're going to fix this one, because this one's doing the same thing. Huh? This side's pretty good though, because this is the side we're flipping out. This is good. It's alright to me. I'm going to finish my 3 nails.
What do you think, Ziggy? Is this fun? You guys are sticking around pretty good. Oh, this one's got a bow in it, huh? So I want to throw it in the middle here. Sucker in pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Feels good. Dude.
Holy shit.
Yeah, we had one bad one. Well, you gotta get it up there though. What? That'll be a little bigger.
We have a pretty ugly board here that's just got a lot of bows in it here, this outside one. So I'm putting a few extra nails in it and just going along, and my dad's lifting up on it or pushing down, whatever he's got to do. And that way we end up with a flush top here. Ready? If you wanted to make this stronger or better, you could use wood glue, you know, or adhesive in between these, but we don't skip on the fasteners, so not needed for us. And people were building homes long before wood glue. Alright, so we got all 3 beams done here. We're getting ready to start on the floor joists once we get our beams all plumbed up, which I'll show you some of that in a minute here. But people were asking about these pads and frost heaving and stuff like that, and they will heave, but you're talking about tiny amounts, and by these won't be secured to the pad. These are going to be free floating, and then, you know, we'll nail our rim joists and floor joists all into this. But by not nailing it into these, when these heave, that doesn't put any unwanted force on the cabin at all. So by not mounting them down, because if you had this mounted, if they were secured to all these pads, this would be keeping it here while let's say this pad heaved. This would be staying here while it's trying to lift up, so it's putting shear pressure on this, which can cause windows to stick and doors to stick and stuff like that. I've heard some cases of people saying windows break. I don't know if that's true or not, but by having it just free floating on here, that keeps the cabin will move with it, you know, but you won't ever notice it. It's not like you'd see it unless you got out a tape measure or something. You're talking tiny amounts, but after, you know, 5 to 10 freeze and thaw seasons, you know, we might have to adjust these. We probably will at some point, and that's why when I made the pad video here, I talked about how easy these are to adjust. So if we got to jack this up, shimmy these around a little bit, do whatever we got to do to get this back situated, it'll be a piece of cake. When I lived in Fairbanks, Alaska, you know, they have permafrost up there, so you always build on top of the ground because the ground's kind of always doing this and that and moving. Hey, Ziggy. So you see a lot of different methods, but my first cabin that I had was 18 by 28, the one I rented when I first got there. and that just sat on railroad tie pads. And that, like I said, of course the ground was heating, but I never noticed it in my cabin. So it's little amounts, but over time it can become a problem if you don't adjust it and watch it, right? So my grandpa has a cabin that he built over 40 years ago. That's probably about a 45-minute drive from here. So the same area, same soil, all that, same climate. And that's just been sitting on just railroad tie chunks in each corner. It's a 16 by 24 cabin. And that thing, I mean, it's been sitting in that spot for 20 some years, and the thing is still level. You know, you can't even tell that it's ever moved or anything. I'm not too worried about this. You know, like I said, it's easy to make adjustments if and when we need to, which we will have to at some point, but it won't be a big deal when we do. So when you buy dimensional lumber in the store, you know, we have 16-foot boards here, and they're actually 16 foot by 1 inch. That's why they kind of look funny here and don't line up at the end. But I'm going to put a mark at 32 feet on all 3 beams, and then use the chainsaw to cut them all flush. So we're starting on the rim joist now here. All 3 of our beams are in place and they are square. So we have the same measurement diagonal here from this corner to that far corner, and the same measurement from there to there. So both those are the exact same measurement. So we know that we have a perfect rectangle right now. For our rim joists, they're going to rest right on this outside board of the beam. And then our floor joists will rest on these 2. But we're going to start by toenailing our rim joists in the full 32 feet on both runs, and then we'll put the start going with the floor joists here. So you can see our rim joist here is all secured to the beam. We just have it tacked on here, but I'm going to go along now and nail it every foot or so with 16 penny nails, toenailed down into the beam.
Really sure what to do with this.
And then of course, until we get this thing built, we're camping. Here's my dad's room. All right, so you can see we're laying out the floor joists here. We have this side done. Well, they're just nailed into the rim joist here. But we're laying out the other side. So now that you can see it, it'll make more sense. They overlap here on the middle. And then they're going to be nailed together, of course, and then nailed down into these beams. And then we'll put our blocking in to keep them from twisting. All right, here's what our floor looks like so far. All the floor joists are nailed into the rim joists. And then where they overlap here, we have these all nailed together. So now we'll start on our blocking in between each floor joist to keep it from twisting. All right, here's the completed floor joists. We got our blocks going down the middle, keep these from twisting and rolling, keep our spaces even. And now we got to put down the Reflectix insulation, and then it's time for subfloor. And then we'll have our floor built. So the rim joist is toe-nailed really well into the beams. All the floor joists are toe-nailed, both sides on the beams, so we did not skimp out on the fasteners. And we got a good, solid, level, square floor. Some people were asking why we're a little bit higher off the ground here. And there's a lot of advantages to that, but mainly we can store things under here if we ever have a problem with anything. You know, like when it comes to adjusting these pads or whatever, I can crawl underneath here just fine. There's plenty of room, and you just have a lot more things you can do in the future doing it this way. If you ever got to run a wire, plumbing, anything like that. But mainly there's just a lot of storage room under here now, so that's why we did that. And when I'm sitting at the front of the cabin here, and we will have a porch that we'll add on here once we get this all dried in. You hold on.
So you just come up this side?
Yeah, I hardly tack this stuff because, like I said, the plywood, you're gonna have every nail going through it anyway, so just so it doesn't come off in the wind right now.
Go the other way though, or you'll...
I went by square footage when I got it, so
it's 5 times 8, that's 40. How much is left in there?
This one? This is a 25-foot roll by 4 feet. Still have 5 foot left over. Kind of sucks that it's gonna have to be taped where it's loose, you know? Mm-hmm. The Reflectix insulation is all tacked on and the seams are all taped. This is a Reflectix tape that goes with it that, you know, you're supposed to tape every seam, of course. So turned out good. The floor is insulated and we're gonna start throwing some sheeting on here now. What's for breakfast today?
Well, we've got bacon and some sausage and then the skillet scramble. Got ham, mushrooms, onions, cheese in there when I'm done.
Looks hearty. So we've started sheeting. This whole first run here was full 8-foot sheets. And then we cut, for the next run, cut that one in half at 4 feet. And now we're gonna continue with 8-footers, and that way, now when we lay our 8-footer down, this seam ends up middle of that piece of plywood. That way all your seams don't line up all the way down, because it's not as strong. The sheeting's going on really good. And that's what we want to see right there. How do you boys like the deck? So all you're doing up until you get to this point, you're just trying to get a level platform that is square. So same diagonal measurement from that corner to that corner, that to that corner should be the same measurement. And as long as you're level, that's the goal. So once you have this built, this is a good feeling because you know that you're starting on a perfectly level and square platform, which means the rest of the house is going to be square and level. So far, all the tools that I've used are right here. So you can accomplish this with next to no money invested in tools. You know, I mean, if you don't want to chuck out the money for, you know, to get all new, you know, table saws and stuff like that, just to show you, this is as simple as it gets here. You know, we got our string line, level, saw, tape measure, a square, and a hammer. We're hand driving all the nails on this place, so anybody can do this with basic tools. And if you didn't want to get a skill saw, you can do it with a hand saw, of course. It's going to take you a little bit longer, but that's doable as well. So you don't need to have all the top-notch, you know, tools to accomplish this. So anybody can do this, whether you have carpentry background or not. Like I said, it's just if you can read a tape measure, you know how to read a level. It's about all you need to know. And the most important measurement, like I said, on this up until this point, is your diagonal measurement. That way you know you're square. So anybody can do this stuff. Here's what underneath the cabin looks like. You can see all the beams are resting perfectly on those pads. And we're level, square. All of our joists are 16 inches on center. Things are looking good up until this point. I'm excited to start on the walls. Well, I just about got the floor all nailed off here. Well, actually, I'm about half done only. So it's a lot of nails. I think it's like 82 nails per full sheet of plywood you're supposed to have or something like that. So it's a lot to hand nail, but it's doable. And as you can see here, we got ourselves a nice, solid, level floor. That's a good feeling, man. You know, with the price of lumber, we're starting to get some money invested in this, so I'm glad everything's going well. And I will have all my receipts, and I'll show you guys how much this entire building costs, you know, at least to get the shell up, you know, get the metal roof on and everything to get to that point. Then the inside, everybody's going to have their own ideas on what they want to spend in there, but I'll show all the receipts and add everything up. I've kept every receipt, so I'll be able to show you guys how much it costs and everything, which it's been a lot, but of course with the price of lumber, we knew that. It's a little chilly at the job site today, so we're gonna have a campfire going all day, so we got someplace to come over and warm up. All right, so the front wall is complete. So you can see we got the door on the left, obviously, big window on the right. So that's what the front of the cabin will look like. Now we're gonna head back and do the back walls. The back walls are just a window centered in each room, so those should be pretty easy to frame. And then it's 1:30 right now. We'll see if we get a start on one of these side walls or not. All right, so this is what we got done so far here. So that's the door, window. We're heading to the back wall here, so you can see it's just a window centered on each of those two rooms. Okay, so you can see where we did our 16 inches on center framing here. Now I'm framing in the window, and that's the bottom of the wall, because we're going to stand it up this way, obviously. But right now I'm putting in jacks. So you can see how those go. Those go right here, next to the king studs. This here is the header. Just 2x6s, which will sit like so, and then we'll have our cripples here. And the cripples transfer the weight down to the header, which acts as a bridge over your window, so that transfers the weight back over here to your studs. So as you can see, we're framing in a 36 inch by 36 inch opening here. So we're right at 36. So, and then my dad's cutting studs that'll go here to make our opening here. So. Good. Pretty close. Gotta come in just a little bit, I think. Yeah, that's pretty good. Good. A lot of crooked. There you go, much better. There you go. That fix this a little?
Oh yeah, that looks, yeah.
Much better. Here, let me start my nail first. Yeah, tell me when. Later. Sierra's cooking us up some lunch. For lunch today, we're having some Johnsonvilles. All right, so we're getting ready to start on the sidewall here. And we're doing this in two 16-foot sections. What's nice about grid paper, well, you know, this is 2 scale, so each box represents a foot. So I know exactly where this window is going to fall on this wall here. So it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 feet in on the wall is the start of the 4-foot window. So it's just nice having a plan like this to go off of. Okay, ready? Yeah.
Okay, I got it. Okay. So you just gotta tap it over on the end, probably all the way at the end.
Got her?
Yeah. Probably off a little now. I think you're good. Now come back over here and tap this corner out.
nail that.
Okay, you just get that one in, and then I'll level it up. I think it's good right there.
Okay, well, how's that? That's perfect. Okay, so this 3-stud corner here, you can see that allows us to, we have something to nail to here for our inside sheeting on this wall, but then that gives us this lip to nail our, whatever we decide to do on the inside, sheetrock or wood, that way. So plus it makes a good strong corner.
Can I get some snow goggles while I'm working?
All right, here's what we got so far. We started that side wall, but obviously it's snowing pretty hard, so we're calling it a day, but pretty happy with what we got done today. What do you think, Skeeter? What's up with the snow, huh? So we're laying out our 16 inches on center here for the sidewall. So we have our tape hooked to this wall, the outside of this wall, because we have to account for this 3.5 inches because our sheeting will start, you know, from here over. So if we went 16 inches and just butted up from here, then we'd be off. So from the outside of this wall, you know, we mark 15.25 and then put our X on this side. That way our stud lands in the middle on the 16 inches. And you always go, you know, by 16 inches, 16-inch intervals, because that comes out to 4 feet, which is how wide your sheetrock usually is. We're using T111 for the siding. So that 4 foot will put us dead center on a stud. So when the end of our sheet, or the end of one of our sheets will end right here in the middle, and then the start of our next one will end right in the middle. That way that ties to this stud, which is tied to everything else, so everything ties together. So that's why 16 on center is so important. So we're flying on this wall here. Goes quick when you don't have a window for a while, because you're just getting big sections of walls done, and they're all just 16 on center, so it's pretty straightforward. This window here is a little bit different size. The windows in the bedroom are 3 foot by 3 foot. This one's going to be centered on the sink, so it's 3 foot wide by only 2 foot tall, though, because otherwise this would be hanging below the countertop. So it's just a 3 foot by 2 foot wide window. And then once we get this one done, right about where my dad's standing there is going to be the bathroom window. And that's a 2 foot by 2 foot window. And then we'll have all 4 walls done, man. And then I'll give you guys a walkthrough tour of where everything will be, so it'll all make sense. And then I'll show you guys how we tied everything together and all that too. All right, so here we are. I'm on the corner of the cabin here. You can see that's perfect this way. And then this way, whoops, is also perfect. So we're dead center level, both directions. But if we weren't, you know, we had to pull this a little bit, but that's what this brace is for here. Not only does it hold the wall up, but you can also kind of adjust your wall that way. So my dad holds the level, you know, on the wall here, and lets me know if I need to pull this or push the wall out or whatever. You can kind of move it with these. And then once we get it perfect, when he says, all right, it's perfect, then we nail it off. and that holds it, you know, so that way it can't flop as much, and it's sitting level right now. But we're getting ready to tie this last section of wall in here. So all of our other walls are all up right now, you can see. So that's the last section over there. And so I'm just going around and double checking, making 100% sure that all of our corners are level both ways. Because once we tie in this last wall, it's going to be a little bit more challenging to try to level the walls off. So so far we're perfect in every corner. So we're getting ready to frame up this last wall, and we'll have all the walls up in the cabin.
Come here, Skeet. Come. Come.
Here's the last wall going up on the cabin here. Ready?
It's in on that end, huh? Pretty close to the bottom already.
Almost like we measured and stuff.
Take the corner again. One more tap. Light.
Got it?
One more. Another light tap down there. There you go.
Flushing all that?
Nope. Light tap. Another one. One more. There you go.
Right there? Let's verify before I nail it all the way in. It doesn't get too much better than that, does it?
I don't think so.
So that's what we read all the way around, all four walls, all corners. So we're perfect. We got a level floor, and we got level walls now. So we're gonna start sheeting and stiffen all this up. You can nail your top plate on while you're framing on the floor. That'd be easier, and then you wouldn't have to be up on a ladder doing it. But I don't think I'm good enough yet to, I don't know, to leave it long so the walls can tie in and stuff. So I just said I'll do it after. but you can certainly do it on the ground if you want. Okay, so we left this top plate 3.5 inches short. I don't know if you can see that or not, but that allows us to slide this one in now to continue with this wall, which ties these two together at the top, which makes it strong. All right, so we got all 4 walls stood up here. So just to give you guys kind of an idea of how it'll be laid out, this will be the living room area here. This back corner is a bedroom, a 10-foot by 12-foot bedroom. This is a smaller bedroom right in here. Next to this is the bathroom. So there's the bathroom window. And then the kitchen will be in here, and this window is centered over the sink. And then of course, the loft will be in the back up here, 12 foot out from the back wall there.
I might have to wear my pouch for this job.
That should be level, so.
This way?
Yep. All right, here's the first wall, complete with the T111 siding. Our wall is perfectly level. We still got to cut out the windows on this wall, of course, and this will get an oil-based stain, just a clear coat. But we like the look of this. Looks nice. I feel like you accomplished something when you get the siding on. And then we'll have black trim around all windows and doors. So I think it'll look pretty nice. So one wall is done with the siding. It's nice. I keep going around putting a level, you know, in different spots all the time, and everything's perfectly level. So what I'll do is I'll take a Sawzall and cut the windows out. And as far as Tyvek goes underneath this, you know, like house wrap, there's mixed, you know, people say, oh, you should do it, or oh, you don't need to with this T111. My grandpa used T111 over 45 years ago on his cabin, and there's no signs of rot on the studs at all. And you know, like I said, he didn't put it on there, so I'm gonna go by that. I see a lot of people that don't put it on, so I don't think it's necessary. Plus, with the overhang we're gonna have on our roof, this thing will never see rain anyways, so I'm pretty confident that it'll be just fine without the Tyvek house wrap. Door. See, we nail a board here, flush with this beam, and where the rim joists meet here. So that we're actually nailing into the rim joist here, which will tie the rim joist to the studs. So Anything we can do to tie everything in to make it stronger, the better. So that's why we're doing that. A lot of people don't do that, but it only makes it stronger. All right, here's what we got going here. Our ridge beam is officially set. There are two 16-foot sections right here. The set of rafters is where the ridge beam meets. You can see we have these kind of supporting the ridge beam up there. Pretty hard to do with two guys. Kind of challenging. But we have, you can see we built a cradle up here. That way the ridge board can sit in between that. Supports it, keeps it nice and keeps it from sagging and stuff too. And then we have, you know, our scaffolding set up, of course, and we're getting ready to fill in the front rafters here. And then we'll just fill in all the rest of them. So we start with our two on the back here to get this going. And then here in the middle where they join. So we're getting our ridge beam set first. Then we'll fill it all in. 24 inches on center, 2x8 rafters, 12-12 pitch. As good as I'm never gonna get there, bud. Back a hair just for you, because I know you like to be perfect. All right, so I was originally going to do a 10-12 pitch on this roof, but decided to do a 12-12, mainly just because the angles are so much easier, because all this is a 45-degree angle. So we just take the end of the board, mark a 45, measure short point down here to short point right there, And then this is the inside of the top plate where the bird's mouth will sit. And then this is just a 45 and a 45. So it makes it easy. There's no, you can't really mess that up because your speed square is at a 45-degree angle. So it makes it a lot easier, and there's never going to be snow on this roof. All right, all the rafters are on. Some of them turned out better than others, but they're all pretty good. And then I'll run a 2x4 across here right below the ridge board there, just to tie them apart even better so they can't come apart. And then right now we're going to start on the blocking and then the strapping, and this thing will be solid. All right, we got our gable studs in here. I am going to add one more here. I just don't have the board for it. But we're going to cut our rafters now, our rafter tails all flush, so we can put our fascia board on, and then we're going to start running our strapping for our metal and get that all done today and hopefully throw metal on tomorrow. Galvanized spiral nails hold. Yeah. They ain't moving at all.
How is it up there?
It's pretty good. It's becoming a ladder. So we have this block right here that I think is 12 3/4.
12 3/4.
Yeah, 12 3/4 inches, and that's what I use to keep our spacing right. So we're 16 inches on center. That way we don't have to measure and snap a chalk line every time. So this speeds things up a lot.
Out a little, yeah. A little more. There you go.
And then we have lines here that I'm going off of that I keep flush with this outside rafter, which will give us our overhang. So that way these are all plumb with each other now. That way we don't have to cut them when we put our fascia board on. Yeah, at some point it might even be easier to just hand them from the inside, probably.
It will.
So I keep getting up here. We're going to call it a night. That one side's just about done. We just have a little bit to fill in on the back side there. And then tomorrow we'll do the other side and should get a good start on the metal. Might even get it done. But I'm going to wind down with some Land of the Sky Blue Waters. Skeeter, come here. Sit. Hey, whoop. Good boy. You're a good dog. Here's a look at the roofing. We have one last piece to put on the end here, but we're trying to figure out a good way to do that since I can't stand on the strapping anymore. I'm secure here.
Are you just hanging?
Yeah, I'm ready.
How do you do that the first time?
Never works out like that. Right there. Does it look like it's
Yep.
Yep.
Dead center.
We got all the metal installed here. Came out perfect. The chef's getting some breakfast going here. This side's complete. We're gonna start on this other side here. And then install the ridge cap and we'll be done with the roof. We'll be dried in, besides the gables, of course. We gotta fill those in, but the main goal is I wanna get a roof on this place so that way we don't have water coming in here anymore, because I'm kind of sick of this plastic, walking on it, and the water just kind of pools. So I wanna get this roof on and then we'll be weathered in at least. And then probably tomorrow I'll have these gables filled in, sheeted in and everything, and we'll be done. Or dried in at least, and then I'll start doing doors and windows. But today, that's our mission right there. Get this other side on, the metal, and then the ridge cap. Show you how I start the metal here. I measured, this is the overhang in the front of the cabin here. I measured from the end of this strap over here 36 inches and pounded a nail, because I'm going to hook my chalk line to that and snap a line all the way down the strapping here to guide my first sheet of metal. But the sheets are actually 38 inches wide, but you get 36 inches of coverage because you have this overlap here. But 36 inches means it'll overhang 2 inches out the front here, and I'm gonna have a 1 inch thick fascia board, so then it'll stick out an inch past that, and that rib on the end here will act as my drip edge. Because I'm not putting on drip edge or any of that stuff. It's not necessary. I know a lot of people use it. It looks nice and all that, but if you do it this way, you don't need it. So save a few bucks there. All right, we got the metal just about on this side here. You can see I started on the ridge cap up here, but it looks nice. We just got this little bit to fill in here. So yeah, once we get this last little bit in, we'll be done. I had to send Sierra to go get screws though, so we're kind of at a standstill. But yeah, that first run of ridge cap looks nice. It comes in 10-foot sections, so I'll have 4 sections and then just overlap accordingly, so the 32-foot comes out good. But yeah, I'm really happy with the roof. It looks nice. Screw.
What took my eye out? Green light, bud.
down here and kind of adjust it on the end and then come back. That probably looks goofy, but that's the only way I can do it. Look right?
Yeah.
You're about a 1/4 inch out.
I'm gonna screw it, guys.
Okay.
Hang on, let me look at your line here. About here.
Looks fine.
Yeah.
Professional.
Today we're going to stain this cabin. We picked out, so our original plan was we were going to do a black roof with black trim around the door and windows and leave the T111 kind of as is and just seal it at the color that it's at right now. But because we're doing the white roof now, I think brown, Cierra and I both think brown's going to look really, really nice. And a dark brown building always looks really cool against the snow anyways. So this is the color that we have picked out here. So it's going to be dark, but I like that it still leaves, you know, the wood grains here, kind of the characteristics of the T111. So I think that's going to be, it's going to look really nice. But I have one more sheet to fill in on the back gable here. And then I'm going to do the doors, or the windows today, excuse me. And then the door is going to be homemade. I'm building that myself. And I'll probably do that tomorrow. But I want to get, you can see that there's the sheet I got to finish there, this little piece there. And then, yeah, get all the windows installed today and probably do the door tomorrow. But this place is going to look a lot different by the end of the day today. While Sierra's getting ready to stain here, we're letting our new friends get some sunlight during the day. Skeeter's keeping an eye on him. He's been pretty good with them. He's curious about them, but he's been pretty good to him. Uh-oh. She did it. No going back now. It dries a little lighter, but I think this is going to be a good color. What do you guys think of the color scheme here? Yeah, this one's a little heavier.
Do you need help?
No, I got it. Perfect. What's it look like to you? Left end's gonna come up?
Let me look. Honestly, I feel like it looks good how it is. Do you want me to hold it and you can come look?
Let's start by just putting one in here. Just to hold it. And I am using power tools on the window insulation, just because I don't want to hammer this and wreck it. What do you think?
Adds character.
Right.
Trim will cover it.
Rustic. But I already put a level on this, made sure it's level. And when it comes to, I'm just tacking these on right now, but pretty much the most important part of installing a window is the insulation, and that'll be in the insulation video. So, but right now I'm just getting them tacked on since we're done staining out here, and then going around putting trim around them, and then like I said, the insulation of the window will be in the insulation video. And I just kind of put them in randomly. You don't have to nail them in every single hole. These windows are pretty light, and they're not, I'll have trim around this, and the trim gets screwed through this nailing flange anyways, so it's not going anywhere, so I don't need to get too overkill with the screws. That one's in. After we installed this other one, this other window here next to this one, looking at them, it looked like this one was kind of a little bit lower, which would drive me nuts. So I ended up lifting this up about a 1/4 inch or so. Now it's the same height as that one, so it looks a lot better. And that's why I was saying when you frame in your windows, you know, you leave a 1/4 inch all the way around for that reason. You know, you can shim it, whatever you got to do to get it sitting level and at the right height. So it looks good now though. Back 2 windows are installed here. Cierra and I's bedroom is right here. This is kind of the little office area. Kind of a smaller spare bedroom. And then we got these 2 in. These ones are trimmed out. So we have 2 more windows to install and then the door, and we're completely dried in. I just snapped a line here on all these raptor tails. You see that little blue mark there? And so I'm gonna cut these off a little bit just so they're just kind of barely hanging down where you can see them, you know, from inside looking out. They're kind of blocking the window a little bit. So I've snapped them to where I'll cut that off. It's not gonna hurt the structure of, you know, the wrappers in here or anything. But it'll make it a lot better just so that's not hanging down, because that'll kind of annoy me a little bit. So yeah, I'm gonna buzz all those off, get the fascia board on. That'll make this look a lot cleaner. Well, let's go check on the chickens here. It's kind of chilly out today, so I got the little buddy heater going inside the camper here. Hi, chickens. Kind of an interesting situation here. You know, 2 adults, a dog, and 7 chicks now living in a 8x12 camper. But we're gonna be moving into the cabin soon. Okay, I cut all these raptor tails, cut them down a little bit. So I'll show you what I mean here now. So now when you look out the window, you don't see them. You know, before you could see them kind of hanging down. So this right here is the start of the front door that I'm building. I build all the front doors in my cabins because you can build a pretty cool rustic wood door for pretty cheap. You know, plus it's kind of hard to find these in the store. And like I said, they're pretty easy to make. So this is obviously the frame for it. And then I have these 1x12s. And I try to pick out cool ones that have nice grain and all that because we are going to stain these. So it'll be 3 1x12s wide. They'll get nailed to this. Actually, I'm going to put Reflectix insulation down first, then nail these 1x12s to this frame, flip it over, put another layer of Reflectix insulation, and then nail the other 3 to this side. Then we'll basically have a box that'll have Reflectix and then on both sides, and then a air gap the width of a 2x4, so a 3.5 inch air gap. On the door to the camper over there, I have foam board. I did the same type of door, but I had foam board in there, and that worked really well. But I want to try the Reflectix and see how warm that is with that air gap in there. I think it's going to work well. So this side's nailed off. You can see I got Reflectix in here. Then there'll be this air gap. But I'm getting ready to nail the 1x12s to this side now. Here's the front door all finished up here. So we went with the X pattern. I think that looks pretty sweet. We're gonna stain this too. But there you go, that's a pretty simple rustic wooden front door. Exciting day today. I'm gonna get everything 100% done outside. So all the fascia boards here, trim on all the windows. We're gonna get this door installed. That way every last nail is driven outside. So we can start inside and know that everything outside is 100% done. As much as I want to get started inside, you know, then this stuff kind of gets put on the back burner, and all those birds are going nuts. But then everything gets kind of put on the back burner, and then it never really gets done, and then you kind of forget about stuff. So I like to get things 100% done and then move on to the next thing. That way I know I'm good. So everything outside will be done except for the porch and the skirting underneath the cabin here. But that'll be later on.
Last window going in.
Officially dried in. All windows and the doors installed.
looks perfect.
Actually, or is this one I need to come down a little?
No, it looks good.
Well, the outside of the cabin is almost 100% done. Doors installed, all the trim boards are up, fascia boards. We do have to add skirting around the perimeter of the cabin as well as a porch, but that'll be in later videos. We have a lot on our plate right now. You know, we're starting this homestead from scratch. We just got chickens, so I have to build a chicken coop, woodshed. We got a pound of Sandpoint well yet. We got to till up our garden area, which we already have seeds started for that. So we're going to be pretty busy here this summer. There's going to be a lot of videos. And the videos are going to be a little bit more random at this point here. I still have 8 cords of firewood to put up, so there's a lot to do. But I'm going to give you guys a quick tour here of where things are going to go inside, because I am starting on the interior rooms and loft today. And I will have videos of all this stuff when I finish the inside here as well. But as you come in here, this is going to be like a coat rack area, a little bench to put shoes underneath. This is going to be the kitchen right here. So this window is centered over the sink. This right here is the bathroom. This right here is a smaller bedroom. This right here is going to be Cierra and I's bedroom. And then above all these interior rooms is going to be the loft. And then from the loft, you'll overlook the living room area and the kitchen. So pretty straightforward floor plan. You know, the more simple you keep things, the faster it goes and the easier it is. But yeah, we got a lot going on here. So I am gonna include a price list in the next video. A lot of you guys wanna know how much it costs to get us to this point, especially with the current lumber prices. We actually came in right around what I thought we would. So it's probably not as high as you guys think, but I am gonna add up all the receipts and everything, and I will have a video of that soon. But for now, stay tuned. Like I said, the videos are going to get a little more random just because we have so much work to do and other things to do. I have to transplant all these trees, get rid of a lot of these popple. So like I said, you know, we're starting this homestead from scratch this summer, so this is going to be the busiest summer of our lives. We got a lot going on, but it's exciting. You know, Sierra and I are creating our dream from scratch here, and we look forward to sharing it with you guys. So as always, thanks for watching. I'll have that price, the video of all the prices next, and then stay tuned. You know, there's going to be a lot of, like I said, a lot of different videos of different things now. You know, like I said, we're starting this thing from scratch, so there's a lot to do, but we look forward to sharing it with you guys. We'll see you guys on the next video.